All right. Here we are.
Oh,
Reunited. It feels like it's been a while, but it probably
back
hasn't been
again.
a while.
Back again.
It
Well,
does
let's-
feel like it's been a while. I missed you guys.
Yeah, it's good.
You
to
know
see
Well,
what's
if it
funny?
wasn't for the
I
pod,
want
we
to
wouldn't
tell
be
the
friends
audience, I want to tell everybody listening is that I hope everyone gets lots of laughs from the pods when we are four of us together, because if you saw our text dialogue amongst the four of us, we are getting laughs from us. So
Oh, I know, that's true.
it is quite funny. It would, sometimes I think what feels right to say in the moment, then you listen to it a couple of weeks later, you're like, oh, geez, did I say that? Oh,
I know.
shit.
My
That's
daughter
good
was
to know.
listening to the one with the MLR, and oh my god, she's like, "You and Dwight, Daddy, does he? Do you guys not like each other?" I'm like, "No, Sage, we love each other."
Hey,
She's
Craig,
like,
check your mic. I think your camera might be picking your microphone up. Maybe change your settings. But yeah. Everyone who listens who doesn't have the context of our relationship or friendship is like, you guys like each other. I'm like, this is normal to me. This is normal.
That's the beautiful banter
So-
of brotherhood.
Anyway, Dwight, I do not want to jump on the toes because I would fall short of being the MC at this point, since you are the master JCal.
I don't know about that.
We may have been taking the all-in analog a little too far. I know we're doing the intros,
that's
and now we're
true.
doing
Is
the
my mic
2020
better, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It is.
Now we're
Picasso
doing a
said great
2023
artist steal.
prediction today.
But I
and
think predictions are clutch. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. A lot of pods are out there doing that, and I think we've got a unique perspective amongst the
so
four of us.
do predictions offer any value?
Well, it offers value for ourselves because we're going to get the flex next year who is right and who is wrong.
Validation.
That's right.
Validation.
Validation.
Okay.
If anything, it brings more banter to the recording, and that's entertaining. So
Okay.
let's get
All right.
started.
Fair enough.
Do you have a little roast to start off
I
with?
have a unified intro, if that helps. Just to
Okay,
kind of
that's even better.
clarify
I
a
like
little
that.
bit. Especially since y'all gave me a little bit of content, but I'm pretty sure pretty soon we're going to be. Well, I'm going to get a lot of content in Salt Lake City, so that's usually the
Yeah. Is there a marina district over there that I need to be aware of?
best. There are some places with good energy for Pete, so I'm sure.
Yeah. Is there an orphanage located next to like a 24-hour liquor store? That energy is just
No.
amazing.
But I'm
There's
sure
tables that are right at the height of the waiter's face, so that when you slam the beer, you'll make sure you get all over.
I
them.
remember that guy's look, by the way, doused in beer. That was
I
a low
did.
moment for me.
I thought he was going to call his
With the
friends over and
statute of
kick my ass.
limitations in
It
Cabo
touched you.
Court.
That's going to be a defining moment in your future.
This
Look
is
back,
so
and like,
good.
I remember the time.
Yeah.
It's all good, guys.
Craig, there will be some event like this at the ski. You'll be like, dude, I
Freak
had to
out.
walk like 75 feet to the chairlift. This was terrible. This is the worst ski
Oh no,
resort ever."
I know this place. This is really great. This location.
I
This'll
know.
work
Yeah,
out
it's
nice.
good. And that resort is awesome.
Yeah. And the snow in Salt Lake's been ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm excited to be there. Okay, Dwight, it's all yours.
You
Let's
whistle.
It's I did a unified one just because I think this might be a longer pod. But all right, everybody, welcome to Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast.
You sound like Craig back in the early days. He didn't know the name of the
I
podcast.
try to be, I got to do my own Craig and not say the whole name or butcher it. Fearsome 4 is here once again so that each of you can get your monthly dentistry blend. Let's do it. So let me welcome Craig. He's our echo chamber reverberator. He's our dopamine driven liberator, the trailblazer who's usually embattled with Pete, our dictator. But don't worry, the Fearsome 4 will disagree. And Craig and Pete will once again see how much they were meant to be. Then they will go and make a pod without Trey and me just so that their echo chambers can be set free. The dictator will find his pleasure as he continues to be the instigator for the BP Alliance, while Dwight will try and make sure we're all under compliance. Trey will stay on the pod and shake his head and nod, but don't worry, the Texas Rainmaker will be the record breaker for the best practice commissioner while also being the best guest listener. The truth is that he is the quiet one, but only because we're scared of the logic he will say, or worse, that what Craig will hear and relay. That was exactly the opposite of what he meant to convey. So no matter Craig claims disgust for the Ivory Towers sonority or Pete pays for practice culture sorority, just know that we are all here to represent the unconsolidated majority. So let's pull it together. Let's have a quick little discussion. It's all brotherly banter, but with all canter, it's what makes us besties. You know, your mind will not be left empty. So stay with us and let us know what you think, even if you're convinced we all need to shrink. So let's do our predictions of 2023. It's about dentistry and looking out for the GP. Is it a recession or just a false impression? We will not be suppressed. Trust me, I can attest this is an unplanned banter, and I apologize for those we will defile. We're just trying to make you smile. So let's get this going, everybody.
Well done, Dwight. Well done.
Yeah, well
Good
done.
job.
Not as
Dwight.
pointed and
I like
personally
your.
offensive
I
to
gotta
me.
say, I like your roast.
I'm trying to be nice. I'm
I
trying
do
to be
too.
nice. I'm trying to be nice. Got to start it easy though, because I think
You're
we got
like,
a lot of
you know,
topics.
you're Ned Flanders. So nice is
Yeah,
like just who
that's
you
right.
are.
Well,
You're like that. You know who Ned Flanders is?
Oh,
Remember the
freaking-
neighbor?
Freaking.
yeah.
Howdy
The
diddly
neighbor.
do, neighbor.
How do they do? How do they do? Well, of course,
Motherfreaker.
today let's
do
get
it.
started. So let's talk a little bit about what's setting this out. Obviously, it's the beginning of the year. It's nice to talk about what we think is coming in 2023, what the year is going to give us. So if you think about it, since the last recession or discussion about recessions, we were in 2008 or so, as that progressed, then after that, the economy enjoyed prosperity, 0% interest rates, bull markets. And then we ended up talking about recession, thinking there was going to be a bubble around 2020. Instead, we got a 2020 pandemic. Since then, the dental industry and the whole world, for that matter, has experienced the great lockdown, the great opening, reopening, the great recovery, the great resignation, and now, I guess, the great inflation. So the biggest questions, we have a list of questions related to 2023 and see what it has to offer. So let's start first with what we think will be our biggest losers and our biggest winners in the dental industry in particular in 2023. So we'll go one by one so everybody can share a little bit of thought and banter back and forth. Let's start with who you think will be your biggest winners in 2023. Start with, how about you, Craig? Why don't you start with you?
Okay. Well, how do I see what I wrote? Because we wrote this on the Google form. So I want to capture
Let's
what
see.
I have there.
Do you have it in
that?
front of you? Or
Do I have it in front of me? No. I submitted it. And with Peter's fine piece of technology, I was very proud of how I submitted a Google form and it disappeared.
I can read it. I can see it on this, and we probably can't share it.
Can you share screen?
It's actually really hard to read in the.
Yeah, it'll be
Okay, so just tell me what I wrote and I'll unpack it.
in-house
All right.
payment. You said winners, in-house payment plans like Clear.
That was
me.
not me.
Okay.
That was me.
Big
Okay,
winners,
so Trey, go
DSO.
for it.
Big winners, DSO. This
Okay, I'll jump in. I think big winner, mid-market DSOs with a lot of cash reserves. You're gonna have a ton of high-end, or not high-end, but the elite DSOs are gonna shed practices. The bigger ones are gonna drop it to right the ship from debt issues and other things as we drive forward. Ones that have positioned themselves well with tons of cash reserves are going to be there to pick up all sorts of things available in the coming year.
So what do you define a mid-market DSO as, Trey, just so I understand how many practices?
So if you look at top 10 DSOs, if you look at it, and this was off of Becker's a while back, but you have the top, say, 3, and I don't remember where they are, but you're looking at about 1,500, even down to 900 is the maybe third or fourth. And then it goes all the way down to, I want to say 200. I mean, there's a massive drop. So you're looking at in that, let's call it 100 to 300 stage of locations. We're talking rooftops.
Awesome.
I agree with this. I agree that the winner is the fearsome 4. I love he put in. I've shared it screen now. So, yeah, the technology was obviously using Google Forms, and that was a good way to submit. So we didn't all look at each other's answers as we submitted to be an influence. And now, Craig, you have it in front of you now. So, Craig, biggest winners and losers, biggest losers in the industry.
So the biggest loser, I think, is the solo practicing dentist, unfortunately, although it breaks my heart for this coming year. I see businesses there's a lot of dentists that were barely holding on through the last couple of years, which were amazing economic times. And I think with the initiation of the recession and the factors that are playing against the small businesses of America, I see the era of the solo dentist, although it's been prognosticated to come to an end for a long time, it's accelerated this year, unfortunately.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Is that because of a post-COVID thing you're saying this?
No, I just think that it's another nail in the coffin. You know, when you look at the government systems and, you know, even the way the recovery happened with the CARES Act and how larger businesses were rewarded, and smaller businesses were not rewarded in the same way. I just see that, and the labor crisis and costs and all that stuff are going to impact the single solo dentist harder than the multi-dentist or DSO,
Got it.
in my opinion.
Got it. All right, Dwight, you've got your sheet in front of you.
Yeah, I'm thinking. So I put down for my biggest winner would be group practice dentistry, and at certain scale. And I'll explain a little bit more on some of the variable, the DSO and my loser components. But 2023, we ranked our U.S. News and World Reports ranked dentistry still to be actually dropped down from to the 10 best job. It's number 4 in healthcare, number 8 in STEM jobs, number 10 in top 100 jobs, best paying number 11, mostly because it's settling into kind of not just finding positions, not necessarily opening new practices, but becoming part of group practices. And I think that these group practices are in a place to be able to negotiate. What I mean by that is multiple doctors coming together, small sized DSOs. We'll talk about this later, how the definition of what a DSO has just very confusing, is all over the place. And that's one of the reasons why the consolidation number is all over the place. But I think biggest winner is that microcosms of consolidation. And unfortunately, I agree with you in the fact that it's going to hit smaller practices pretty significantly. Biggest losers, I put in variable DSOs that have variable debt ratios on their debt. Because unfortunately they're having to dump, just like Trey said, make significant changes there. At the same time, large multiple DSOs seeking large payouts. I would say anywhere between the $5 to $15 million range. Those haven't changed over the last year, and those don't seem to be changing quite as much. The interest is still there, but any acquisitions that are larger than that, it's starting to be too much of a interest rate environment where it's too complex, and they're holding back on that. If anything, they're going to hold their cards to be able to outlast the market. So it's believed that consolidation will happen more locally or at smaller packages, but not necessarily at massive scale, in my opinion, until those rates are better. So I'm kind of in agreement a little bit with what Trey said, but on the back end, I think it's going to be later before those large style DSOs are starting to make massive acquisitions, because it's not a favorable lending market right now. And I don't think it will be for a good amount of time.
Okay. All right.
And my biggest winner, which I left out, by the way, I only said my biggest loser. My biggest winner is DSOs in general. When I see the job statistics and the quality of the job decreasing, like Dwight, you're speaking to, and also the total expenditure from the public towards dentistry going up in dollar amount year over year, but the average salary of the dentist kind of flattening out, that just points to the money's going to a different hand, essentially. It's just
that touches on my biggest loser of dental students. I think when you have a dental student coming out at this time in an interest rate environment like this, in an environment of consolidation like this, with rising student debt, decreasing average salary, and opportunities that are frankly, they're abundant in the right situations, but the choices are less there. I don't think it's a bad deal or it was ever a mistake to go there, but I think they're going to fight people that are going to say that.
Yeah,
sure. But with that being said, I think it's an important caveat. What we're talking about is entering a consolidated environment, even out of dental school. You're still walking into a better case scenario than the vast majority. Even I have this statistic from Bureau of Labor Statistics projects a 6.1% employment growth for dentists between 21 and 2031. In that period, an estimated of 7,700 jobs will continue to open on top of the regular average expectation. So needless to say, there's a lot of growth and necessity. It's just how you practice or what you're affiliated with. Those are the components that relate to consolidation, but the job itself is still considered one of the best paying and most pragmatic, quality, balance of life jobs available out there. So, not all doom and gloom in that sense, but I agree with you that you don't have pure control of how that comes along. So,
all right, my my biggest winners are, I feel like it's going to be a good year for tech for dentistry. Companies that are going to leverage AI like Overjet, and companies who are solving pain points like Weave and things like that, are consolidating the making the friction of doing dentistry much less for the provider. I think there's some good strides going on, and I'm not sure, maybe it's neither one of those companies, but I think that tech is going to be a big winner. Also think that Form Labs is going to be a big winner, or 3D printing is going to be a big winner, and it's going to start disrupting the milling industry with the approved filled printing permanent restorations.
Right.
I believe printing is going to become the superior option and the lower barrier to entry for people who do not want to mess around with millings, right? Because now all you need is an intraoral scanner and a printer, which it's a lower barrier from a cost perspective and an equipment maintenance.
I agree with that.
Okay. I believe that the big losers are going to be the people who have tried to disintermediate the dentist from the equation, whether that's direct to consumer and you can insert. And Craig has made me nervous about, we were talking earlier about
Innovative Dental in Springfield,
the
Missouri.
Innovative Dental dude getting
Also-
sued on his sued because he was kind of talking about someone in a not complimentary way, and he's being sued in federal court by like Snap-on Veneers or something weird. So, as much as I love a good fight, I don't love a good pain in the ass, so I'm not going to say anything. But imagine, fill in the blank there with companies who have tried to disintermediate the dentist, right? Gone direct to consumers, whether that's orthodontics or Snap-on this or whatever that. I believe they will become the big losers.
yeah, agreed.
And that's that. I'll stop right there.
And we'll hit it on some of those items again in the little text section here for sure, because I think you're right on. I think that's where a lot of progress is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, while we're at it and kind of the impact of that, I will say, like, where are we on the recession thoughts? Where are each of you in that space as far as the impact the recession will have on the industry? Will there be a recession, or are we already in one? Let's go in reverse order. Pete, you want to tackle your turn?
My prediction is yes. So my prediction is 2023 will be a flat year. I do another podcast, believe it or not, it's just very small and it probably has 7 listeners, with 2 of the shared practices guys, and it's a crypto pod. And this has been a big topic on this, has been in my life, in my 47 years now. Typically when the masses say something is going to happen, usually the contrary happens. So everywhere you look, people are saying recession is coming, recession is looming, this is going to be catastrophic. Everyone is saying this. And there are a few contrarians that say, this could be flat. So I am going more with the flatness, because sometimes things are already baked in, meaning the price of the S&P may be baked in, the inflation may have already been baked in. So I don't think it's going to be as catastrophic as they say. And I believe, honestly, it's going to be pretty flat, if not maybe a little bit positive. I think interest rates will continue to be raised. But of the 8 times the Fed will announce it in the 2023, I believe they'll only do it 2 times. And I believe they will only do it in 25 basis points each one, because they have committed to do so, and they made a proclamation that they were going to be committed to this. I think they will stop that interest rate rise. They will stop that rise as soon as unemployment goes up, which it is about to start trending up.
It is.
Once unemployment triggers, that is the place where they can say, okay, we've almost fixed inflation. I know I won't go into the correlation of that, but that is probably one of their goals.
So you think we land this plane, soft landing, like the Fed's going to do it just right, cool it down and flatten it out?
I don't think.
Yeah, I think look, like anything, and we talk about the pendulum a lot here in psychology of people. And I think that the pendulum in the markets have already reacted to this impending doom that everyone's been talking about. So it's been priced in. Like, look, tech stocks have taken an absolute crushing. Crypto's taken an absolute crushing. Yep. Interest rates have gone up, right? It's slowed things. It's cooled everything off. So short of a global war, or short of the Fed just going off their rockers, look, we might even have, who knows, we might even have another stimulus this year, which is highly likely, quite honestly. Right? And if that happens, You look at the year of, when we thought it was doom and gloom with COVID, and all of a sudden the money printer turned on and everyone turned into this prosperous economy, kicking the can down the road nonetheless. But it was, Bitcoin was $3,000. I'm using that as the litmus test, right, for where things were in the economy, the doom and gloom. The stock market went down, tremendously. So my prediction is that it's priced in, and I think it's going to be flat. And I think the people who are keeping their head up for opportunities are going to be the ones, like always, that prosper.
I agree. Well, go in reverse order. I think this fits because the way I wrote it out was, I think the concept of a recession to the average American, especially the consumer, because I made one of my main biggest losers, of course, was also the individual consumer. But one of the things that I'm seeing in this scenario is I'm right there with Pete in the sense that I feel that the American consumer, whether it's a 0.2% economic growth or a 0.2 economic recession, I don't think they're going to notice that difference where it's slightly above or slightly below.
Right?
Correct. Okay. Exactly. So even in that, I don't think that the individual is going to feel that as much. Because we talk about recession and it's based on numbers and it's actually seeing it. I don't actually think they're going to sense that piece. I think what they're going to sense is the unemployment impact. I think they're finally going to tap out from the use of, credit cards. We're at an average credit card rate now is like 19.6 because it's expected to rise. It's going to keep going. Mortgage rates are up to 7.2. So, people aren't buying a new house, but they're also stuck in a house. If they need the money out of their house, they won't be able to get rid of it. There's going to be some of those things where the pain, of course, is going to be unequally felt, but the consumer itself is finally going to catch up and they're going to tap out a couple of these things, even if it is flat, which I actually agree with Pete. I actually think that a lot of this is fully baked in and we're going to send some of it, but that unemployment's going to raise and some of the normal expectations that I think we should have seen maybe this last year should have been there because of, if we didn't have as much crazy stimulus or things like that, we would already had and kind of matriculated this quick enough. I kind of compare it a little bit to the lockdowns with COVID. It's like all of a sudden we lock it down, we avoid even dealing with the problem, then we come back to hitting it again. And I think, you open up and now everybody's getting sick again. That kind of a mindset like China's doing and things like that. I think that's kind of what we did was overstimulating the economy. And a lot of that is baked in. I do think that the consumer, though, is going to start to feel it where they hurt. They have been given a chance to be flexible and live their life. Huh?
Well, begin to feel.
I think they're going to begin to feel it truly. I think they're going to tap out a whole lot more because as of now, they've just been putting on credit cards and using stimulus money and pushing. So they're going to claim recession is actually hitting me Q1, Q2 this year, no doubt, and kind of matriculating that way. But I think it's going to be relatively flat. I don't think you're going to have a huge dip as much as I would see elsewhere.
All right, Craig.
I believe you asked the question, are we in one yet? I actually don't think we're in a recession yet. I think when you look at what Powell said, like he said that they have the tools to break a runaway economy. I'm sorry, they have the tools to repair a broken economy. They don't have the tools to stop the runaway economy. So he's made it very clear that he's ready to raise interest rates more aggressively and for longer periods of time to stop it. I don't see the stopping of the inflation just yet. Who I'm listening to and what I'm hearing, I think we're going to go into a recession. And I think that when it happens, it's going to really hurt a lot of the dental practices out there that have been waiting for next year to get their systems in place or, that are barely making it right now. But I think we are not in one yet. And I think we go into one. Do I think it's like the 2008 recession? No, but I do see negative growth. I do see that.
All right. Trey, impacts the recession will have. Will there be a recession or are we in one?
I say we're in one. I agree with you, Pete.
Technically.
Yeah. We had a 20% almost drop in the S&P. I mean, depending on how you want to define it.
Yeah.
But I think that we're in it. I agree it will be flat this year. I do think you'll have a little bit of the interest rate hike still, and I'm more with Craig on that one. And I think it'll go up more than what you're suggesting. However, The flat, I still think we're gonna sink a little bit. I don't think we'll trend upward a little bit. I think we'll trend downward a little bit, but it's not going to be the doom and gloom that everybody says.
As a business standpoint, because we're so used to being stimulated or held up, that even a flat one is going to feel like a negative. Correct?
I think you'll still drop a touch. I think you'll still have some drop, but it's baked in, like y'all are saying. It's very true. Look at what's happening to tech. You already have a 20% drop in the S&P.
Right.
Well, I want to say something too. So like when we define the recession as a consistent 2 quarters of negative GDP growth, that's one part of it. And that is absolutely
that's the definition.
Right. But that's already happened. But then there's the understood implications to the consumer and consumer spending and stuff like that. What I'm pointing to, or to make my point a little bit more clear, I don't think the average consumer has had their appetite rattled yet. I don't think they felt the pain. Of course, they're feeling the pain at the pump, and there's little bits of it's an erosion, but there's going to be a very harsh reality for the consumer, where it's like, oh geez, like we may not be able to. There's still euphoria left over from the stimulus. Is all
there's still more to feel, is what you're saying,
right? That's what I'm saying. That so as it affects our cash registers at our practice, I don't think that has been fully expressed yet. I think people are still spending stimulus money and still feeling good. That's what I think. I think there's another chapter of phase 2.
I would agree with that.
It's a false bottom, and they're not realizing the impact of it. And
yes.
I don't think it's going to be so catastrophic like what most people feel would be a 2008 recession or these types of things where things just shut down. I mean, I think we're more nimble than that. And I think we also have to have compassion. We get to be in an incredible country, and we're even having these discussions where other countries are still in 46% inflationary rates and things to that degree. They're almost more used to it at this point in time, but this is mostly based on fear. And our businesses do have a good portion of our business that is not just it hurts, come in, get it treated. There is a portion of, especially all of our practices, where there is some elective procedures, and some of those components are going to be affected by the fear factor. And there's no doubt.
Trey, by elective, he doesn't mean Novocaine, just so you know, because
that's not elective.
Yeah, that's not elective. That's pretty,
man.
Yeah.
I love how you play along, Trey.
But I just think that if we're sitting here as dentists listening to this and saying, I'm doing okay right now. If the recession already started, I had a good month December. I had a good, the January was looking to be a good month. I don't think we felt it yet. That's what I was trying to say. That's all.